Making headlines this hour. Vice President Hussein Mohammad Latif says that the public should elect leaders who do not interfere in the name of accountability, calling instead for leaders who can work at the same pace as President Dr. Mohamed Muiz. The Minister of Higher Education, Labor and Skills Development, Dr. Ali Haider Ahmed, announces a comprehensive review of the stipend rates, which have been unchanged for 7 years. And MMA data shows the Maldives' gross domestic product, or GDP, rose to $6.9 billion in 2025, marking a 5.4% increase from the previous year. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. Vice President Hussein Mohammad Latif says that the public should elect leaders who do not interfere in the name of accountability, calling instead for leaders who can work at the same pace as President Dr. Mohamed Muiz. The Vice President made the remarks while speaking at the opening of the campaign office of People's National Congress or PNC candidate Musa Ali Jalil for the upcoming local council elections. In his address, the Vice President stressed the importance of electing leaders capable of resolving the issues facing the city. He noted that the city has a strong historical background and said the President has been closely involved in its development. He also stated that there are many capable individuals who can support city developments and maintain strong working relationships, adding that his vision for the city has already been outlined in his manifesto. The Vice President said the city needs a leader who works at the same pace as the President and added that the PNC is contesting the local council elections with such a candidate. He reiterated that he does not support leaders who interfere under the pretext of accountability, noting that accountability is already ensured through elected representatives and institutions. During his speech, the Vice President also highlighted several issues affecting Malé City. Describing the city as a busy area, he said residents should be able to live in peace and security. Referring to issues such as parking, he said the government is already working to implement solutions and noted that the mayor of Malé City has to be one of the key contributors in this effort. However, he said such progress has not been seen over the past 2 years. The Vice President further stated that the PNC had previously contested elections with the same team, led by the mayor, and emphasized that the country needs leaders who genuinely love the nation. Minister of Education Dr. Ismail Shafiu states that there is no difficulty in recruiting teachers for the new academic year.
The new academic year is scheduled to begin on the January 27th, with the Ministry of Education currently making final preparations. These preparations include the distribution of textbooks to schools, school repair works, and the recruitment of teachers and principals, which has been given special priority. Speaking in an interview with PSM News, Dr. Shafiu said teacher recruitment is carried out in proportion to the number of foreign teachers leaving their posts. He noted that more than 2,000 foreign teachers are currently teaching in the Maldives, with an annual movement of between 100 to 150 teachers. He explained that this movement includes resignations, layoffs, and additional recruitment necessitated by increases in student numbers in schools. The minister said the required number of teachers to cover these changes has already been secured, with additional teachers kept on standby if further needs arise. Dr. Shafiu added that the teacher recruitment process is progressing successfully and that there is currently no difficulty in staffing schools. He also stated that efforts are underway to appoint principals for schools that are currently without them. More than 11,000 teachers are presently working in schools across the Maldives. The government is also working to enhance teacher capacity alongside the launch of a national teacher training program aimed at addressing teacher shortages.
In a significant move for state government-sponsored students overseas, the Minister of Higher Education, Labor and Skills Development, Dr. Ali Haider Ahmed, announces a comprehensive review of the stipend rates, which have been unchanged for 7 years. The announcement was made during the latest episode of the Spokesperson podcast produced by the President's office. To address long-standing delays, the Ministry of Higher Education, Labor and Skills Development will begin its disbursement process 2 months ahead of schedule. Minister Haider acknowledged that while the ministry works diligently to pay on time, logistical delays and incomplete documentation from students can cause setbacks. He urged students to submit their documents well in advance to facilitate faster processing, noting that funds cannot be released without all required paperwork. A key focus of the announcement was the forthcoming stipend review. The minister stated that the current rates have been in place for around 7 years and no longer reflect the rising cost of living in host countries. This review aims to rectify situations where fixed stipends are insufficient for students who end up residing in a nation with a higher cost of living. Additionally, to improve communication and support, the ministry has established dedicated 24-hour hotline numbers for students. These helplines, currently available for countries with over 50 students, will be expanded to include nations with more than 25 students as per a directive from the President. This initiative is designed to provide continuous assistance and resolve issues promptly. The governments of the Maldives and China formalizes an agreement to commence construction of the China-Maldives Friendship Hospital in Vilimale, marking a significant milestone in bilateral relations and healthcare development. The signing ceremony took place at the Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure with Minister Dr. Abdullah Muttalib and Counselor at the Chinese Embassy in Maldives, Zhang Su, signing the deal on behalf of their respective nations. The 112-bed tertiary hospital, spanning 12,890 square meters, will feature outpatient and emergency services, diagnostic and treatment facilities, medical wards, and administrative offices. China will supply all necessary medical equipment and furniture to ensure high-quality healthcare services. The project aligns with President Dr. Mohamed Muiz's campaign pledge to enhance accessible, quality healthcare and supports the Maldives Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. Construction is set to begin in the third quarter of 2026, following a competitive tender process for contractors with design and survey works already completed last year. The initiative underscores the deepening diplomatic ties between the two nations and serves as a strategic boost to the Maldives' health sector. Officials highlighted that the hospital embodies the shared commitment of both governments to sustainable development and public welfare. Statistics released by the Maldives Blood Service, or MBS, show that Vava Atoll has no registered thalassemia patients in proportion to its population.
According to the data as of January 10th, a total of 650 individuals have been registered on the National Thalassemia Registry. The largest group of patients falls within the 11 to 20 age bracket, accounting for 215 registered individuals, followed by those aged between 21 and 30. The figures also show that 40 new patients were added to the registry over the past 3 years. In 2023, 11 patients were registered, followed by 18 in 2024 and a further 11 in 2025. Atoll-wise data indicates that Nunu Atoll has the highest number of registered thalassemia patients, with 53 individuals across 13 islands, averaging 4 patients per island. Fafu Atoll ranks second with 18 registered individuals, while Lamu Atoll has the third highest number with 43 patients. Meanwhile, Vava Atoll has no recorded thalassemia patients. The atoll with the second lowest number of cases is Mimu Atoll with 3 registered individuals. Thalassemia is a lifelong disorder affecting a significant proportion of the Maldivian population. As a result, national-level measures are being implemented to address the condition. Thalassemia screening programs have been introduced for school children to raise awareness and prevent the spread of the disease. In addition, government assistance is being provided for bone marrow transplants, which are considered a potential cure for beta thalassemia. MBS services have also been relocated to the Orange Hair building in Hurmale to improve access to treatment for patients. A thalassemia prevention and control master plan has also been established as part of ongoing efforts to manage and prevent the disease.
The Maldives Food and Drug Authority, or MFDA, issues a stern warning against the unauthorized import, sale, and advertisement of pharmaceutical drugs, announcing plans to take strict legal actions against violators. This comes amid growing concerns over unregistered medicines being openly marketed and sold through online platforms without proper permits. In a statement, the MFDA emphasized that only registered importers and sellers may legally bring in and distribute drugs, and all medications must be officially listed and approved for use in the Maldives under the relevant regulations. The authority highlighted specific cases involving semaglutide, a medication for diabetes and weight management, and azelaic acid, a treatment for skin conditions, both of which are being advertised online for cosmetic use, including skin brightening without medical oversight. The MFDA warned that such drugs should only be used under a specialist's prescription and cautioned against the serious health risks of self-medication. It urged the public to avoid purchasing drugs from unlicensed sources and reaffirmed its commitment to enforcing regulations to protect public health. The government begins the process of seeking a consultancy for the establishment of picnic islands in every atoll of the Maldives.
President Dr. Mohamed Moise announced the decision during a meeting with residents of Mativeri last year, stating that a picnic island would be developed in each atoll of the country. At the time, the president said many island residents had raised concerns over the lack of recreational areas where families could spend time together in certain atolls. He said the initiative aims to address those concerns and confirmed that necessary studies would be carried out to support the project. The Ministry of Social and Family Development, which is overseeing the project, has now announced a call for consultancy services for the Picnic Island Development Project. The ministry said bid registration must be completed through the e-portal by 2 p.m. of January 21st. Bid submissions must be emailed to bid@msfd.gov.mv by 2 p.m. of January 25. The opportunity to submit bids will remain open until 10 a.m. of January 28. The government is giving high priority to improving social well-being in the Maldives, strengthening community bonds, and promoting stronger family relationships. Authorities said the Picnic Island initiative forms part of wider efforts already underway to address challenges faced by island communities and to ease congestion in the Male area.
According to data released by the Monetary Authority of Maldives, or MMA, the Maldives gross domestic product, or GDP, rose to $6.9 billion in 2025, marking a 5.4% increase from the previous year. The robust growth was primarily fueled by a strong rebound in tourism alongside expansions in trade, transportation, and construction. Tourism remained the largest contributor, injecting $1.5 billion into the economy, a 5.7% surge as the archipelago welcomed over 2.2 million visitors in 2025. Other key sectors, including trade, 7.0% growth, transport and communications, 6.8%, and construction, 4.7%, also saw significant gains. The fishing industry contributed to $220.5 million, growing by 3.0%. Looking ahead, the central bank projects economic growth between 4.8% to 5.3% in 2026, supported by rising tourist arrivals and infrastructure expansion. With the full operationalization of Villana International Airport, or VIA, visitor numbers are expected to reach 2.4 million by 2026, an 8.8% year-on-year increase. The Maldives continues to lead South Asia in GDP per capita, reflecting its resilient and diverse economic performance. Analysts highlight that sustained growth in key sectors signals a strengthening economy, The Election Commission of Maldives, or ECM, states that the internal primary elections held by the two largest political parties in the Maldives in preparation for the upcoming local council elections were transparent, democratic, peaceful, and smoothly conducted. The Commission said the conduct of these primaries demonstrates the strengthening of the Maldives multi-party democratic system. The two largest political parties, the People's National Congress, or PNC, and the Maldives Democratic Party, or MDP, held highly competitive internal elections ahead of the April local council elections. Election Commission member Hassan Zakaria said that as the regulatory body for political parties and an observer of the process, the Commission witnessed both parties setting a strong example. He said the internal elections held to nominate candidates for the upcoming local council elections show that internal party democracy is strengthening within the Maldives multi-party system. He added that the elections were conducted in line with democratic principles. The Election Commission further stated that internal elections held across different parts of the country were conducted in a competitive environment with only minimal issues reported. The Election Commission is currently working to conduct the local council elections and Women's Development Committee elections in April. The Commission has urged political parties and candidates to cooperate to ensure the process is completed safely and within the stipulated time frame. The Election Commission of Maldives, or ECM, reveals it received 779 complaints concerning the registry of eligible voters for the upcoming local council elections.
The Elections Commission said the window to submit complaints to the voters' registry closed January 18th at 3 p.m. The opportunity to lodge complaints regarding the register of eligible voters for the local council and Women's Development Committee elections scheduled for April opened on January 7th, while it closed on January 18th. According to the Elections Commission, a total of 779 complaints were received before the deadline. The complaints primarily relate to changes of address, changes of residence, the inclusion of deceased persons, and the removal of names from the registry. The Commission has established the National Elections Complaints Bureau to receive complaints related to the April Local Council and Women's Development Committee elections. The Bureau aims to provide an accessible mechanism for the public to submit electoral complaints and grievances and to ensure they are reviewed and addressed promptly. The Elections Commission said complaints can be submitted via email to the Complaints Bureau or in person at Commission counters. Arrangements were also made for complaint forms to be submitted through designated focal points in cities, atolls and island councils and at focal points abroad.
The Maldives' first generative artificial intelligence, or AI, hackathon is set to commence this February in a landmark initiative for the nation's startup ecosystem. This hackathon is designed for new and experienced business owners and entrepreneurs, creating opportunities for progress with the assistance of AI. The Gen AI Hack 2026 will be held from the 6th to the 8th of February, with participation open to teams of 3 to 5. Participants are encouraged to register early to take part in this hackathon. By bringing together youth entrepreneurs, Diragu has stated that this hackathon will allow creative visions to be brought to reality in 48 hours with the help of AI tools and platforms. Furthermore, AI specialists will be brought to conduct sessions sharing their expertise, providing participants with support and encouragement. Experts will assist the youth in each stage of product creation up until it's unveiled. Diragu Director of Brands and Marketing Communications, Muhammad Mirshan Hassan, stressed the importance of familiarity and training when it comes to generative AI tools due to the undergoing rapid advancements presently. Director Mirshan stated that this hackathon shows the support Diragu provides to Maldivian entrepreneurs to utilize AI for problem solving, production creation, and testing up until the product is introduced to the market. Participants will enhance their skills and capabilities. Unlike other hackathons, this hackathon will employ an open category format with participants participants creating brand new products exclusively for this hackathon. This hackathon is created by Dirago in collaboration with Spark Hub, with Cenetex Private Limited as the main sponsor. The hackathon policy of no shipping, no pitching means that teams are required to introduce the product to the market before the final pitch. Judges will be evaluating the full functional product as opposed to a slide deck or conceptual demo. Taking a look at business affairs, Bolivia's energy minister says in an interview the centrist government will respect all existing hydrocarbons and lithium agreements as part of a push to rebuild investor confidence after years of instability. Mauricio Medina Kelly, appointed by President Rodrigo Paz in November, said the pledge to honor deals signed by the previous leftist government with Russia and China, even if it disagrees with how they were awarded, was intended as a first message to investors. Bolivia holds vast reserves of lithium and natural gas, but output has lagged after nearly 2 decades of state control that deterred foreign investment as companies fretted over lack of certainty. The South American country has been heavily dependent on foreign fuel supplies, including diesel from Russia, vessel tracking data show, as local production subsides. President Paz has moved to reverse long frosty ties with Washington and multilateral leaders after years of Bolivia's alignment with Venezuela, China, Iran, and Russia. Medina Kelly said the government would discuss next steps with Chinese and Russian companies that have signed lithium agreements, which generated widespread criticism from investors, politicians, and businesses for their lack of public oversight. Bolivia is drafting a sweeping hydrocarbons law and a separate lithium law to attract foreign capital after nationalization of strategic industries under the previous leftist administration hurt output over roughly a decade. Bolivia's state-owned energy firm, YPFB, which controls energy trading, will remain part of the system but no longer dominates it, Medina Kelly said. He said the reform, due to be presented in the first half of this year, is designed to lure private firms back into exploration through a more flexible tax and royalty system and new contract models. Several U.S. and regional energy companies have shown interest, he added, without naming them. If Congress approves the law this year, Bolivia plans to launch oil and gas exploration bidding rounds in 2027. As part of the government's economic plan, several fuel subsidies were lifted on December 18th, sparking protests. Officials have since negotiated agreements with major labor unions, though analysts caution that further economic reforms could trigger demonstrations again. Medina Kelly said these subsidy cuts were essential to stabilize public finances. The next step was to transfer much of fuel supply and logistics to private operators through 10 wholesale distribution blocks, each with 5-year contracts designed to ensure investment recovery. Update on international events. Swedish Finance Minister Elisabeth Svantesson says the European Union should push back in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff threat over Greenland. Svantesson told a press conference it was absurd that an American president would use tariffs as a threat in order to try to buy or take over Greenland. She also said it was important that the EU acted together. Trump vowed to implement a wave of increasing tariffs from February 1st on EU members Denmark, Sweden, France, Germany, the Netherlands, and Finland, along with Britain and Norway, until the US is allowed to buy Greenland, a step major EU states decried as blackmail. The 8 targeted countries, already subject to US tariffs of 10% and 15%, have sent small numbers of military personnel to Greenland as a row with the United States over the future of Denmark's vast Arctic island escalates. Moving on to sports, Senegal storms off the field in protest at a penalty awarded against them before returning to beat hosts Morocco 1-0 after extra time and win the Africa Cup of Nations amid farcical scenes in the final. Midfielder Pape Gueye netted the 94th minute winner after Morocco's star player Brahim Diaz had squandered the chance to win it for the home side by fluffing the last gap penalty in normal time following a 14-minute delay. Senegal coach Pape Bouna Thiaw ordered his players off, and it was talisman Sadio Mane who persuaded them to return. The penalty was awarded following a VAR check by Congolese referee Jean-Jacques Ndala after Diaz had been tugged to the ground by Senegal fullback El Hadji Malik Diouf while defending a corner 5 minutes into stoppage time. Officials and players jostled with each other while the referee consulted the touchline screen and again when Senegal walked off. Once the players returned to the field, Diaz inexplicably tried a Penenka-style chip and his weak penalty sailed tamely into the arms of Senegal goalkeeper Edouard Mendy. Senegal's actions will be seen as a major blight on an otherwise successful tournament, although defeat continued Morocco's poor record in the tournament, which they only previously won 50 years ago. And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.